So Raman was got the Nobel Prize in 1930, and he was the first person in Asia to get Nobel Prize in any branch of science. Raman was supremely confident, and he invited a group of newspaper reporters on 20th February 1928 and announced that he has discovered something very new and which might get Nobel Prize or something. And the next day, 29 February 1928 was a leap year. Statesman and many other newspapers carried the news that C.V. Raman has said that he has made a very important discovery. That is why National Science Day is celebrated in 28 February. Raman's life was remarkable in many ways. He was a child prodigy. He did everything very early in his life. He was born in 1888. 1906, he was only 18 years old. At that age, people normally pass class 12 here. He stood first in the MSc exam of Madras University in physics. And some people later said, "Sir, you must have got very good teachers in Madras University." He said, "Yes, I got very good teachers because teachers never insisted that I should attend classes. So he never attended the classes." So the first job he got is not of a professor or anything. He was appointed Assistant Accountant General, Government of India. And that was, at that time, Calcutta was the capital of India. So he was posted in Calcutta. And he used to work in the, now what is called the AG Bengal office. And one day while he was walking in the street, he saw the nameplate of Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science. He entered the place and he found that place has his revealed as ISCS. He found that there is a very good library, lot of good instruments, but nobody was doing any research. So he went to the head of the place. At that time, ISCS was like a club, a cooperative society kind of thing. The head of the place is called secretary, and the secretary was a medical doctor, Dr. Amritalal. So Raman said that, "Can I come and do some research? But you see that I have to work in the government office from 10 to 5, so I can come only on the early morning or late night. At that time, the institute will be closed. How can I work?" Amritalal Sarkar gave him a key so that he can enter anytime in the institute. And after within 2-3 months, he published a note in Nature from. He did not have a PhD student, he did not have anything, all a single author paper. And by seeing this, J.L. Sarkar was very excited. In the annual meeting of this Indian Association for Cultivation of Science, he announced that Raman will be the brightest ornament of ISCS. Now there is another person in Raman's life. This is called Ashutosh Mukherjee. Ashutosh Mukherjee is known as the Vice Chancellor, a very powerful Vice Chancellor of Calcutta University. But he was actually very mathematician of very high quality. And Ashutosh said that I started research when research was unknown in this country. I could not pursue this because of lack of opportunity, but I made a resolution that I will create new facilities so that in future young Indian researchers will get job and all other necessary things. So he created a science college at Science College in 92 APC Road, which became the cradle of Indian science. When Ashutosh became Vice Chancellor for the first time, it was 1906, and this is 1 year after Bengal was partitioned as a part of divide and rule to weaken our freedom movement. And lot of intellectuals, Bengali intellectuals, decided that we will fight against the British not only by throwing bombs, also intellectually by creating institutions which will be as good as or even better than Calcutta University. He appointed Raman as the first Palit professor of physics Actually, every department has two professor posts, one named after Pali, another named after Kashmiri Ghosh, who was also another professor, was another barrister, and but Raman was not willing to teach. The problem is Raman was not willing to teach, so they needed a lot of young people to teach. After Raman got the Nobel Prize, he was given a felicitation by the then mayor. The then mayor of Calcutta City was Dr. Bijan Chandra Rai. And in this felicitation, Raman paid rich tribute to two persons. One was Manral Sarkar for founding ISCS, and another for Sir Ashutosh for giving him a job. And he said that if ISCS was not there, his research would not have continued. And if Ashutosh did not give him job, he would have his career would have terminated. If you excite a liquid with some liquid or solid or gas, whatever it is, with a light, more than 99% will have the same wavelength or frequency. That is called the Rayleigh scattering. And there will be some very faint, maybe less than 0.1% of the light will be converted in something else. The scattered light may be of longer wavelength, lower frequency, or shorter wavelength, higher frequency. The longer wavelength is called the Stokes-Raman line, we know now, and the shorter wavelength is called the anti-Stokes. And the difference between the incident Rayleigh line and the Raman lines is the vibrational or rotational energy of the molecules. Okay, but when Raman did that, initially the expansion was not so easily found. What they observed in 1923 is, if a green light enters a liquid, a part of the scattered light is different color, usually yellow. Yellow is a longer one. And they did not have any detector, photomultiplier tube or anything to detect the scattered light. And as you know, the Raman signal is very weak. It is very difficult to observe a Raman line. So they used to enter a dark room and sit there for 1 hour. If you enter a dark room, initially you don't see anything. But after some time, you start to see everything in that. And in principle, our eye can detect one single photon. Eye in the visible wavelength band, eye is the most sensitive equipment. So they used eye. Therefore, many times people say this was discovered in a black hole. So you enter a dark room, sit there idle for a long time. When your eyes are sensitive, you open a small window. The light source they used was sunlight. There is a green glass. So green light enters the sample. You give put a yellow light on the path of the scattered light, and you will see that a very faint yellow color is coming. So initially they saw this, and they could not interpret it. Okay, they called it feeble fluorescence. Okay, so and then they forgot about it. 1 year later, Compton discovered the Compton, and Compton effect became very popular. And in 1927, Compton got the Nobel Prize for the Compton effect. After when Compton effect became very, very hot, and people are talking about it, suddenly one day Raman realized that what he saw is an optical analog of Compton. Optical means he used visible light, and Compton used X. So he needed a spectrograph where they will be dispersed, and then comparing with some standard lines, you get the exact wavelength. And then you can see what is the energy gap between the Rayleigh line and the Raman line. So they did not have money to buy a spectrograph. So he found out who is the richest man in Calcutta. The richest man was G.D. Birla. So Raman wrote a letter to G.D. Birla, and Raman was always has a monumental ego and very audacious. He said that if you give me money, I will bring the Nobel Prize in 1 year. Birla gave him the money, and he brought the Nobel Prize not in 1 year but 2 years. Okay. he published the detailed thing in Indian Journal of Physics. This was communicated in 7th May, that is about 2 months later. Okay, and here he first time showed that the Raman shift, that is the energy difference between Rayleigh line and the Stokes or anti-Stokes line, is equal to the vibrational gap of a benzene. Because the first system he studied thoroughly is benzene. Then he made 30 maybe 100 reprints and sent it to some 100 Nobel laureates that I think this is a Nobel Prize deserving discovery. Please nominate me for the Nobel Prize. So he wrote to Rutherford, Niels Bohr, and many people. And Lord Rutherford said this is the one of the 2 most important experimental discoveries in physics. In those days, Nobel Prize used to be announced on 15th of November, and the ceremony will take place in 10th December. He cried on the stage, dais, after getting the Nobel. The reason is there is no Indian flag on his chair. And in the official speech, he said, I am dedicating my Nobel Prize to the freedom fighters of India who are spending the golden time of their life in a British. And till the end of his life, every year, he gave a lecture on 2nd October in honor of Mahatma. And Raman then became the director. And the same year, Hitler came to power in Germany, and lot of very famous Jewish scientists started leaving Germany. So Raman offered to Max Born, Schrödinger, Smith, and several others. Among them, Max Born came. But as you know, the Indians are very much afraid of good people. Huh? As soon as Max Born came, there was a lot of propaganda. Some people say that Max Born is useless because he could not get a job in his own country. Some people say, no, Max Born is very good. But in physics department, we already have a Nobel laureate. And if we have another Nobel laureate, Max Born didn't get Nobel Prize by 1933. I said that if there is another Nobel Prize kind of scientist, his physics department will be so strong that other departments will be suppressed. So Raman could not even create a professor course for Max Born. Max Born had to leave. And Raman, there was a lot of allegations against Raman, even for stealing money. How Raman stole money? The reason is, before Raman came, the research money was, research grant, very small amount of money used to be spent on research. Raman exceeded the research budget. And then he found that there are some money allocated for buying a water for this institute. Instead of buying the water pump, Raman bought equipment for the physics laboratory. So this is stealing, embezzlement. So Raman resigned. Raman told Bhabha, if you join IISc Bangalore, I will nominate you for the Fellow of Royal Society next year. So Bhabha somehow joined Bangalore. Within 1 year, he became a Fellow of Royal Society. And 7 years later, he wrote to his paternal uncle, Dorabji Tata, the uncle, give me some money, not to buy chocolate, to buy an institute called TIA. Okay? So this is how Atomic Energy Commission was created. Unfortunately, Bhabha died very young. He died when he was only 57 years old. The second man whom Raman brought is Vikram Sarabhai. Vikram Sarabhai was 10 years younger than Bhabha. And he actually got a PhD of the fellowship from Cambridge. But again, his family did not want him to go to Europe during the war time, Second World War. So then Cambridge gave him an option that you can stay in India, but if you work with Raman, then we will take it as equivalent to training at Cambridge. So it will be, all the credits will be transferred. So he joined Raman as a PhD student at IISc Bangalore, and unfortunately, when he was chairman of ISRO, and when Aba died, suddenly this atomic energy chairman post became vacant. So 1966, he was became a joint head of both atomic energy and ISRO. But he again died very young, 1971. He's only 52 years. Ian Ramcharan actually joined the electrical engineering department of ISRO. Say sometime one day he came to discuss something with Raman, and Raman immediately found out that this boy is interested. So he called up the head of the department of electrical engineering and said, "This boy is too good for your department. You will not be able to teach. Send him to me." So he did masters with Raman on crystal optics. Then he did PhD, DSc in Rio, got a job in Madras University. He did DSc on crystal optics. Then he did another PhD at Cavendish Laboratory in Cambridge. At that time, that was the greatest institute for protein crystallography. So he came back in 1954 from Madras. He proposed the triple helix structure for collagen. In 1970, he came back to Bangalore as the founding chairman of the molecular biophysics unit. And Raman has a nephew who also got Nobel Prize. When Chandrasekhar got the Nobel Prize, in the banquet, he recited this poem of Tagore.